Republican Representative-elect George Santos is a liar, and he is admitted to being a liar. So now the congressman-elect had admitted on Monday that he made up a few things on his resume. You know, his job history, his education history, and as well as his property ownership. Oh, weird. Now, afterwards, he's like, what are you gonna do about it? So I made them things up. I'm still gonna take office. What are you gonna do? I mean, there's no law that prevents me from taking office, even after I lied to you and to the media, to all of my voters. Oh, there's nothing you could do. Now, the Times writes that Mr. Santos had confirmed some of the key findings of a New York Times investigation into his background, but then later on told the New York Post, and this is a bunch of different interviews that I'm going to be quoting here, he says, quote, "My only sins here are embellishing my resume." Oh, you embellished your resume. Just a little bit. Oh, I mean, don't we all lie about whether or not we've went to college or what jobs that we've had? Again, to get into the details here of this previous report, he had lied about which colleges he graduated from and had lied about working for Citigroup and Goldman Sachs. Now think about that for a minute. If you lied about your work history and your education during an interview, and then you get hired from the job based on, of course, those lies, would you get fired for it? Odds are, yes, I think a lot of people would. And look, I tend to think of elections as kind of like a job interview, you know? You sell your qualifications. And so, again, maybe it doesn't matter to some people where he went to school or where he had worked, but that is part of the package that he tried to sell himself as. Hey, I'm a businessman. I'm educated. I'm an educated businessman, and I'm going to work for you. And then we find out that he's not actually an educated businessman. So now, here's what he said, quote, "I didn't graduate from any institution of higher learning. I'm embarrassed and sorry for having embellished my resume. We do stupid things in life." Ah, yes. Yes, indeed. Lying your way into office, kind of stupid. But not criminal, however. But there is something later on that we'll discuss that might be criminal. That said, he also admitted that he never worked directly for Goldman Sachs or Citigroup, blaming a, quote, "poor choice of words" for creating the impression that he had. Hey, that's your fault. You know, I mean, you read it wrong. You guys just have poor reading comprehension, thinking that I work for Citigroup and Goldman Sachs. I mean, even though I didn't. Okay. Now, there are other things that he lied about. Again, his property ownership. He claimed that he had a family-owned real estate portfolio filled with 13 properties. Now, he does not, unsurprisingly, which explains why he had the thousands of dollars in unpaid rent. So, yeah. Now, something that might be a little bit more consequential, but not, again, illegal. But, okay, he claims to be, gay. Again, one of his selling points is, I am first openly gay Republican congressman, so the Republican Party couldn't possibly be homophobic. Because look how friendly they are to gay people. I'm young, I'm Latino, I'm gay. Man, I check all those boxes. Okay. Now, that said, we find out later on that he had a failed marriage to a woman. Now, okay, to be fair, if you're gay, you're going to have a failed marriage to a woman. That makes sense. But still, before I get to that, he tells the Post, "I dated women in the past. I married a woman. It's personal stuff. I'm okay with my sexuality. People change." Okay, look, to be fair, people do change. And maybe he's not lying about being gay. I don't know. But given everything else he had lied about, it I think it's an understandable reaction for you to not trust anything this person had said. At all. At all. Now, he also, by the way, another personal issue that he had lied about is his religion. He's not actually Jewish. According to The Forward, a Jewish publication based in New York City, they reported that Mr. Santos may have misled voters about having Jewish ancestry, claiming that his maternal grandparents were born in Europe and emigrated to Brazil during the Holocaust. Mr. Santos told the Post, quote, "I never claimed to be Jewish." Fascinating. "I am a Catholic. Because I learned my maternal family had a Jewish background, I said I was Jewish. Oh, see, I'm not actually Jewish. I'm just Jewish because I have family converted, but I didn't actually convert. Then you're not Jewish. What? Now, Mr. Santos has repeatedly said that he was religiously Catholic, but is identified as a non-observant Jew. Told the Post that his grandmother had recounted how she converted from Judaism to Catholicism. Okay. Now, there are other issues Santos addressed. Yeah, he acknowledged that a string of financial difficulties had left him owing thousands to landlords and creditors. Not good. Not good. But then failed to fully explain in the interviews how his fortunes had reversed so significantly that by 2022, he was able to lend $700,000 to his own congressional campaign. That is a decent chunk of money. So you go from being in debt, deeply in debt, to then miraculously turning it around somehow and loaning yourself $700,000? Oh, there's some red flags there. Okay. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I mean, maybe he was successful, but I don't know. A lot of weirdo red flags. Now, Mr. Santos also firmly denied committing a crime anywhere in the world, anywhere, even though the Times had uncovered Brazilian court records showing that Mr. Santos had been charged with fraud as a young man after he was caught writing checks with a stolen checkbook. He said, quote, "I'm not a criminal here." It just made me think of, I'm not a crook. Not here in Brazil or any jurisdiction in the world. Absolutely not. That didn't happen. It happened. However, in the court file that was found, Mr. Santos was identified by his full name, date of birth, as well as by the names of his mother and father that matched. The documents also showed that Mr. Santos had confessed to the crime and was charged, but the case then remains unsolved because authorities were unable to locate him. I wonder if that's because he got the f out of there. Gone. He's out. See you later. Now, Mr. Santos had also not fully accounted for his employment during the years that he had claimed that he was advancing on Wall Street. He wasn't. In a separate interview with WABC Radio, he confirmed reporting by the Times that he had worked at a call center in Queens in late 2011 and early 2012. So, that said, look, lying like this, it looks bad. So but ultimately, it's terrible PR. Yes, you lied to your voters. You lied during your 2 campaigns, and no one caught on, which I find is kind of bizarre to begin with. How did he get through these 2 campaigns without anybody finding any of this stuff out? But there is something in there that could be criminal. In fact, his financial disclosures, in his financial disclosures, he reported earning millions of dollars from his company, the DeVolder organization. However, according to the investigation, the Times could find no public-facing assets or other property tied to the firm. And Mr. Santos himself had disclosed very little about the operations of his company. So we don't know any detail about what it is, what he does, other than I guess that it's a financial company. He also has no clients, despite the requirement that, candidates list any compensation over $5,000 from a single source. He does not have any listed. If you intentionally omit or misrepresent information on a congressional financial disclosure, that happens to be a federal crime. Whether or not it will be enforced, well, that's another question, really. But it could, if they actually look into it, could come back to, bite you. But as far as everything else, all the other lies, he's not going to lose his seat over it. At least, unless there's a next election and the voters feel sufficiently irritated that they were lied to in such a magnificent fashion. Could face some ethics investigations, but again, I don't know what's going to come out of that. But I am interested, like I said, in where he made all that money, which, where did it come from? Where'd all that money come from? How did you make so much money? Why are you so shady about your company? Do you have any clients? Why did you omit them from your financial disclosures? With somebody that has such a history of lying about simple things, little things, right? You don't think that they're capable of lying about bigger things? Things that could possibly make them money? I mean, you're going to tell me that somebody who's lied with a history of odd jobs, bad debts, and even writing bad checks suddenly came into a bunch of money by completely honest means? You're going to tell me that? No. If you believe them, I got a bridge to sell you. But the last thing here is, once again, harping on the point that this would have been great to know before he had gotten elected. Why didn't you look into it before the election or the campaign before that? Why? Now, his voters, maybe they're not going to care. But maybe if enough of them do, well, that would be interesting come re-election. But again, why didn't the Times or any other publication look into him before? Not his first campaign. It's not his first rodeo. Why didn't his Republican opponents look into him in a primary? I don't know. Maybe they thought he wasn't worth the effort. Maybe they thought he was going to be a long shot. I don't know. What I do know is that this guy lied and continues to lie about everything. And so if you're one of his constituents, if you think he's actually going to represent you and help you out, fat chance of that. Most likely he's going to be there to help himself in his own wallet.